all, welcome back to Pabbly Connect. So in this video, we're going to understand how to automatically send Slack channel message on Google Forms submission. So do you also use Google Forms and Slack for your business? Then this video is definitely for you. So over here, I'm doing the same. I manage a marketing team for a tech company and we regularly host webinars. So what we do is we use Google Forms to collect the registrations for our webinars. So now what I want is that as soon as a new form submission is made in my Google Forms, which is as soon as we receive a new registration, I want to notify my team on Slack about the new registration received. So to do this, we're going to create a connection between Google Forms and Slack. To create this connection without knowing any programming or coding language, we are going to use Pabbly Connect. It is an amazing automation software. So do you also wish to learn this process step by step? Then let me take you to my computer screen. Welcome to my screen. So as you know, in this video, we're going to understand how to automatically send Slack message on Google Forms submission. So as you know that I manage a marketing team for a tech company which regularly hosts webinars and they use Google Forms to handle registrations. So to keep my team updated in real time, I want to set up an automation that instantly send a detailed Slack message to our channel whenever someone new registers. This way, my team immediately sees who signed up, tracks the number of attendees and follow up with the participants as needed. This setup ensures that we stay on the top of registrations, enhancing our communication and ultimately improving the overall webinar experience. So yes, as you know that Slack and Google Form doesn't have any native connection. So in order to build the connection between both of these applications, we are going to use Pabbly Connect. It is an amazing automation software, as I told you. So yes, to do all of this, I've simply opened the landing page of Pabbly by searching pabbly.com/connect in my browser. It is very easy. So as soon as going to open the landing page of Pabbly, we're going to get two options. One is sign in and the other one is sign up for free. So if you are a user, you can click on sign up for free and going to get $100 free every month. But I'm an existing user, so I'm going to click on sign in right over here. And as soon as going to click on sign in, it is opening all Pabbly apps. Over here, you can see all the tools and applications offered by Pabbly. But in today's video, we're going to use Pabbly Connect because we are connecting different applications. So I'm going to click on access now right over here to access my Pabbly Connect account. And as soon as I'm going to click on access now, it is opening my dashboard. And to start with this automation, we're going to click on this button which says create workflow. And now it is asking me the workflow name and the folder I want to save the workflow in. So over here, I have created multiple folders on my dashboard where I can save my workflows. So if you wish to learn how to create a new folder or a subfolder, you can click on this hyperlink given right over here which says learn more. And now it is asking me for the workflow name. So I want the workflow name to be how to automatically send Slack channel message on Google Forms submission. Google Forms to Slack. And then for the folder, we're going to select it as automations right over here. And then we are going to click on create. And as soon as going to click on create, it is opening the most important window of our automation, which is our workflow window. So this is the most important window because we have trigger and action on this. Trigger means when this happens and action means do this. So by this, you can understand that the trigger is the commander for the workflow and actions follow the commands. And as you know that we can have only a single commander but multiple followers. So over here we can have only a single trigger with multiple actions following the commands of our trigger. And by this you can finally understand that the actions are response towards the commands given by our trigger. And in order to start with our automation, we have to select our trigger application. So for my trigger application, we're going to select it as Google Forms. So I'm going to look for Google Forms right over here. And as you can see Google Forms, we're going to select it. And as soon as going to select the trigger application, it is asking me for the trigger event. So basically trigger event is the event on which the workflow will start. So over here I want that as soon as a new response is received from my Google Forms, my workflow should be triggered or started. So now it has given me a webhook URL and as you can see some steps. So in order to connect my Google Forms account with my Pabbly's workflow, we are going to follow this. What we're going to do is first we're going to copy this webhook URL and then we're going to follow this step one by one. So what we're going to do is it is saying log into your Google Form account. So yes, we're going to open our Google Forms account and as you can see that this is the form I want to create this automation for. So I've opened this form and then we're going to go on responses right from here. And after coming over here on responses, you can see that I've already connected this Google Forms with my sheets. Okay, so that's why it is giving me the option of view in sheets. If you haven't haven't connected this, you're going to get the option of link with sheets right over here. And as soon as you're going to link it with your sheets, it is going to give you the option of viewing sheets. So you have to click on this button right over here. And as soon as you're going to click on this button, yes, you can see over here it is opening my sheets. And as you can see that I've already did one submission for this form too, and we have received the details of that submission right over here in our sheets. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to connect this sheet with our workflow, because as soon as a response is submitted, automatically the details would be captured right over here in our sheets. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go on extensions right from here, then add-ons, and then get add-ons. And as soon as we're going to go on get add-ons, we're going to add an extension right over here in our sheet. So I'm going to go on search apps, and then we're going to look for Pabbly Connect webhooks. And as you can see the same, so we're going to select it. And as you can see that I've already installed this extension right over here, so I'm going to open it. As you can see that I've already installed this right over here, so that's why it is giving me the option of uninstall. But if you haven't installed this, you're going to get the option of install right from here. And as soon as you're going to install this extension right from here, you have to refresh this sheet. It is a really important step to refresh the sheet. And now after refreshing the sheet, we're going to go on extensions, and as you can see, Pabbly Connect webhooks will appear right over here. So we're going to go on this, and after coming over here, we have to go on this initial setup. And as soon as we're going to click on the initial setup button, it is asking me for the sheet, the webhook URL, and the trigger column. So I'm going to select the sheet as form responses 1. For the webhook URL, we're going to paste the URL which we copied from our workflow, and now it is asking me for the trigger column. So in the help text, it is saying the trigger column will be a final data column on which the data is added. So over here for me it is I, so I'm going to keep it as the same, and then we're going to click on submit. And as soon as we're going to click on submit, yes, you can see setup configured successfully. So yes, with this we have successfully connected our Google Forms account with our Pabbly's workflow. But now before moving forward, what we're going to do is we have to go on this extensions Pabbly Connect webhooks, and as you can see the button of send on event. So you have to keep in mind that you have to switch on this button right from here. This is a really important step, because as soon as now a new event occurs in my Google Sheets, automatically the details would be sent to my webhook URL, which is my Pabbly's workflow. So that's why it was really important to switch on this button. And now after switching on this button, we're going to open our workflow, and it is saying waiting for a webhook response, and in the notes it is saying do a test submission /record. So what we have to do is we have to submit a dummy form, or we have to submit a dummy inquiry right over here in order to capture the response. So I'm going to open my form, and then we're going to click on preview form right over here so that we can submit this form once. So for the name, we are going to keep it as demo user, so I'm going to enter it. For the email, we're going to keep it as demo@pabblytudes.com. We're going to move on forward. For the phone number, I'm going to keep it as this. For the organization, we are going to keep it as Pabbly right over here. We are going to move on forward. It is asking me for the dietary restriction, so I'm going to keep it as vegan. It is saying which specific areas of automation are you most curious about. We are going to select it as social media automation. It is saying how did you hear about this webinar. We're going to keep it as social media, and now it is saying current automation experience, so I'm going to keep it as none. And then we're going to click on submit right over here, and as soon as we're going to click on submit, yes, you can see that we have successfully submitted this form. And now what has happened is the details of this submission has been sent to my Google Sheets. So I'm going to open my Google Sheets, and as you can see the details have been captured right over here in my sheets too. And now further, Google Sheet has sent the details of this submission to our workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my workflow and check that if Pabbly has captured the response for the same or not. So I'm going to open my workflow, and yes, you can see that Pabbly has captured the response for the same. Over here you can see the same details which we entered. You can see the name, the organization, the phone number. Over here you can see all the details which we entered in our submission. So now after receiving these details, we have successfully completed our trigger step, and we have successfully created a connection between our Google Forms account and our Pabbly's workflow. And now what will happen is that as soon as a new response is received, automatically Pabbly is going to capture the response for the same. And now we're going to move on towards our action step. So what I want is I want to inform my team on Slack about the new registration, right? So for the action application, we're going to select it as Slack right over here. So I'm going to search for it, and then we're going to select it. And now for the action event, we're going to select it as send channel message, and then we're going to click on connect. And as soon as I'm going to click on connect, it is asking me to add a new connection or select the existing connection. So if you have already connected your Slack account with your Pabbly's workflow, you can click on select existing connection and then save. But if you haven't, you have to follow me. Click on add a new connection, and then we have have to click on this button which says connect with Slack. And as soon as I'm going to click on this button, it is asking me for the token type. So here you can see that it is saying enter the token type as either user or bot. Check documentation to find out how to get it. So here I want my token type to be bot, and if you want to learn more about this token type, you can click on this hyperlink given right over here which says learn more. And after entering my token type, we're going to click on save, and as soon as we're going to click on save right over here, you can see that Pabbly is asking me for some permissions. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on allow and give Pabbly all the permissions it is asking for, because my data is secure with Pabbly. You can also click on allow Pabbly, save, and as soon as we're going to click on allow right over here, yes, you can see authorization successful. We have successfully connected our Slack account with our Pabbly's workflow, and now it is asking me for the channel. So it is asking me for the channel in which I want to send the message. So I'm going to open my Slack, and as you can see, the name of my channel is new registrations, and I want to create this automation for the same channel only. So we're going to select the same channel right over here which is new registrations. You have to keep in mind that you have to select the same channel for which you want to create this automation for, or on which you want to send the message. So now after selecting the channel, you can keep in mind the note in the help text which is saying a bot can't post in a private channel. Okay, so I have to keep in mind while selecting the token type. And now it is asking me for the message, so I want the message to be this which says new webinar registration alert and the details for the same. So we're going to enter all of these details right over here, but we're not going to enter it manually, but instead we're going to map it. So you must be wondering what is mapping, right? So mapping is a method by Pabbly which means inserting the data from the previous step. And as you know, our previous step was the trigger step where we selected Google Forms as our trigger application. So we're going to map the details from the response of our trigger application only. And as soon as we're going to map these details, automatically my details will turn dynamic and change with every new response received. So I'm going to give you an example that it is asking me for the name, right? So let's suppose that we're going to enter the name right over here manually by typing it like this. Then this will not change with every new response received because this is a static information and I have entered it manually. But instead, let's suppose they're going to look for name in the previous response, and as you can see the name. So let's suppose that we're going to map this from the previous response, then this will definitely change because my previous response will also change. So that's why we do mapping right over here to run our workflow in real time. We're going to do same for the email too. I'm going to look for email in the previous response, and as you can see the same, so we're going to map it. We're going to look for the phone number too. I'm going to search for phone in the previous response, and as you can see the same, so we're going to map it. We're going to map all of these details one by one. So I'm going to look for all of these details one by one, and then we're going to map this from the previous response. So we're going to look for the dietary restrictions, and as you can see vegans, we're going to map it. We're going to map the interest area right over here. We're going to map the experience, and then it is saying heard about us, so we are going to map the heard about us through over here. It is social media for this, so we're going to map it. And after mapping these details, it is saying let's give a warm welcome to them. So after entering my full message, we're going to move on forward. It is asking for the image URL, image alt text, and many another details. So if you wish, you can definitely add all of these details, but I don't wish to add, so directly I'm going to click on save and send test request. And as soon as we're going to click on save and send test request, yes, you can see that we have received a positive response that we have successfully sent an automated message in our Slack channel. So I'm going to open my Slack and check for the message sent. But before opening it, I'll just let you know that over here, if you want, you can add the bot name and bot icon too. I don't wish to add, so directly I clicked on save and send test request. So now I'm going to open my Slack and look for the message. And as soon as we're going to open our Slack, yes, you can see over here is the message, new webinar registration alert. You can see the same details which we mapped in our workflow. So yes, with this we have successfully completed our workflow, but I'll just test this workflow once, and this time I'm going to give you a real-time example. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open my Google Forms, and we're going to do another test submission with the new details, so that we can test that the details are directly sent to our Slack without any manual efforts in real time or not. So for the name, I'm going to keep it as test user this time, so we're going to enter it. For the email, I'm going to keep it as test@pabblytunes.com. So I'm going to enter it right over here. And now for the phone number, I want the phone number to be this, so I'm going to enter it right over here, and then we're going to move on forward. Over here you can see that now it is asking me for the organization, so I want the organization to be Tunes. We're going to move on forward. It is asking me for the dietary restrictions. We're going to keep it as none. It is saying specific areas you are most curious about, so let's suppose we're going to keep it as workflow automation. It is saying how did you hear about this webinar. I'm going to keep it as referral. It is saying current automation experience. We're going to keep it as no, and click on submit right over here. And as soon as we're going to click on submit, yes, with this we have successfully submitted this form. And now what has happened is that Google Forms has sent the details of our test submission to our workflow. Pabbly captured the response, triggered the workflow, and further sent an automated message on our Slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Slack and check for the message sent. And yes, this time we are not going back to our workflow and clicking on save and send test request. I'll directly open my Slack right from here. And as soon as I'm going to open the Slack, yes, you can see instantly the message has sent. New webinar registration alert. You can see the name, email, phone, organization, dietary restrictions, interest areas, current automation experience, and heard about us are all the same details which we entered right now in our test submission. So yes, with this we have successfully completed our workflow, and I'll just summarize this workflow for you once. So for the trigger application, we selected Google Forms. For the trigger event, we selected new response received. For the action application, we selected Slack, and then for the action event, we selected send channel message, because I wanted that as soon as a new response is received in my Google Forms, which is as soon as a new registration is made for my webinar, an automated message should be sent to my team notifying them about the new registration. And yes, we were successful with our workflow too. Over here you can see the 2 messages I sent during this video with the help of my workflow. So yes, this way my team immediately sees who signed up for the webinar, track the number of attendees, and follow up with the participants as needed. This setup ensures that we stay on the top of registrations, enhancing our communication and ultimately improving the overall webinar experience. So yes, this was it for the video, and if you have any questions related to the video and the workflow, you can directly comment on this video. And for your reference, I'll just clone this workflow and share the workflow link in the description box so that you can access my workflow. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you for watching. So not only these applications, but with the help of Pabbly Connect, you can integrate many more applications. So if you have any doubts, you can reach us at support@pabbly.com. If you have any queries, you can reach us at forum.pabbly.com. And if you have any pricing related issues, you can follow this website. And if you find our videos helpful, do like and subscribe our channel. Thank you for watching.